She's a funny old broad. She keeps you guessing.
Hello, everyone. This is Angela, middle initial K, last name Durden, and this is The Constrained View, a special episode called Friday Funnies. Now, you're probably wondering what my shirt says. I don't know if you can see it really good. There's two types. There are two types of people in this world. Those who can extract from incomplete information. I hope you got that. First time I ever wore this t-shirt. I was hosting an open mic for songwriters to do their original songs at Red Light Cafe in Midtown Atlanta. And I did that for several years. And I wore this shirt one night. And so the people are coming up to sign up, and it never failed. They would all go like this. And they'd read the shirt. Some, not many, but a few went, ha ha, that's good. I had others go, how much will it cost to get in? I go, $5. So they give their money. They're still confused and they walk to the back. I had others that made no comment at all, but you could tell they didn't know what to say to this shirt. And so they go to the back. Well, the ones that got it, we were on the same page. But there were some that, the ones that were confused, that I heard one guy about an hour and a half into the event, he went, oh, I get it now. I turned around and looked at him and he went, that's good. Oh gosh, that was so funny. And then 2 weeks later, somebody came in and they said, hey, you know that shirt you were wearing? I said, yeah. They said, I got it. I don't know how long it took them. Then they had somebody else come in about a month later and they said, I like that shirt you wore. It took me a while to get it, but I finally figured it out. I went, oh, good. I did not ask them what their conclusion was, because it could have been wrong. I didn't want to know. I was just happy that they remembered I wore a shirt. Okay, listen, I have a stack of stuff right here, as you can see, that I have gotten off these here internets that we people seem to love so much these days and can't live without. Frankly, I can't live without them, only because it gives me a place to put a lot of creativity that, well, if I was to do some of this sitting out in the parking lot, or let's see, I don't know, it just wouldn't work. So I'm going to go through these and we are going to have some fun. Okay. People are just too judgmental these days. I can tell just by looking at them. Now, this is going to be a variety of subjects. But this judgmental thing, it's true. Now, I don't know that I can tell immediately that someone's going to be just too judgmental just by looking at them. Usually when they open their mouth, though, out it pops. And I go, oh, they self-identified as, I don't know, could it be they're too judgmental because they're anal retentive? I don't know. Because they're self-righteous? I don't know. But I couldn't tell just by looking at them right away. Okay, so here's one based upon all these Doge lessening of the workforce, of the federal workforce. Somebody said, did we see 14,000 fired Keystone Pipeline workers fired on day one of the Biden administration paraded on 60 Minutes? No. So this person says, spare me your tears for the bureaucrats losing their jobs in D.C. right now. Interesting. I just talked to somebody the other day who works for the federal government. And what he does is very specialized, very highly specialized, and he does a really good job of it. And he has his job, but he's coming up upon retirement. So he said, we thought we had somebody hired to do my job when I retired. But he got, and here he looked at me real sad. He said, he got laid off. And I thought, if there's nobody else that can do his job, and that guy could do his job, he wouldn't have been laid off. Because it's not like it's just this willy-nilly rushing around, getting rid of, check mark, we got rid of 10 people here, check mark, we got, no. Each agency head, and this guy works for a huge agency, each agency head knows who they want to keep and who they don't. So this fella that got laid off, that this other fellow thought was going to be the guy he could train to bring on, obviously this guy didn't have the skill set to be able to take that job on, or he would still be there and be in training. These agency heads that are truly trying to do the best for the American citizen, the taxpayers, they're not stupid. These people are glad to be able to finally be able to run their agencies properly. And that means getting rid of dead weight, or weight that's just tangled up in the nets of bureaucracy and having a hard time swimming around, so they're gone. Okay, that's the next one. Now, this next one showed a man and a woman standing there holding one of those blank signs. You know how you can get the templates for those things and then type in whatever you want on the sign? And it says, and I agree with this, the weakest men compete with girls. The weakest minds celebrate it. It says a lot about the Democrats and the Marxists and the rhinos and the pussy hat wearers and the social justice warriors and all of them people that end up celebrating the very weakest parts of it. And we've got a lot of those sorts of things. Weak minds, fragile spines. Weak minds and fragile spines. And those of us that know that these people exist and they're dragging us down, man, we know we're going to have to pull harder. So this is my attempt at pulling harder. It's not the only attempt I'm making, though. So we'll keep working hard on it. Now, a friend of mine posted, he didn't post, he commented on a post made by the American Federation of Musicians of the United States and Canada. And here's what it said. The American Federation of Musicians of the United States and Canada will not remain silent as two of our members, Bruce Springsteen, member of Local 47, Los Angeles, California, and Local 399, Asbury Park, New Jersey, and Taylor Swift, member of Local 257, Nashville, Tennessee, are singled out and personally attacked by the President of the United States. Bruce Springsteen and Taylor Swift are not just brilliant musicians, they are role models and inspirations to millions of people across the world. Whether it's Born in the USA or the Eras Tour, their music is timeless, impactful, and has deep cultural meaning. Musicians have the right to freedom of expression, and we stand in solidarity with all our members. Now, that sounds so sweet. And the reason they put it out is because, Trump clapped back at them. Here's why he said what he did about them, that they're, he doesn't like their music, and they're okay, and they're stupid or whatever it is he said. The reason that he said those things about them is because they threw the first stone. They didn't just throw the first stone, they lobbed a few boulders and cannons at him. So, Bruce and Taylor exercised their freedom of speech. They have a right to do that. And nowhere did Trump say they couldn't say that. They couldn't. He never said, you can't say what your opinion is of me. Nowhere, at no time. At least that I could find. And hey, if you can find it and it's not AI generated, link it to me in the comment section. But you see, now the American Federation of Musicians of the United States and Canada got all upset when Bruce and Taylor had their say, when after they had their say, Trump gave his opinion of them. But you see, they both, all three, have freedom of speech. And if you throw a rock at me and it hits me, and I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, here comes another rock. And I'm trying to dodge them, but you know they're coming hot and heavy. At some point, I'm going to try to get you to stop throwing those rocks. And one thing that Bruce and Taylor aren't, they rely on the goodwill of a lot of people to pay the ticket prices. And they must think that they have enough fans to continue buying the tickets, that they can speak not just their opinion, but actually can say lies about what's going on with Trump. And he's just supposed to sit there and take it? No. Was he from Queens or Brooklyn or where did he grow up? One of them New York boroughs. They don't put up with no crap. They're back in your face. They walk around in your face. They're happy to see you. But if you come at them, they're going to come back at you. And that's how he grew up, and that's how he is. This is not a surprise to the American Federation of Musicians of the United States and Canada. Well, it might be to Canada. But they're learning, aren't they? So, it has really been difficult for me the last few years seeing what kind of wussies a bunch of these musicians are. I mean, I'm horrified. They get up there and they rock out, man, like they're bad to the bone. And they're playing their jazz that is all against the man. And yet there they are out marching for the man, being the Democrats, Marxist pussy hat wearers, social justice warriors, liberals, rhinos. And I can't listen to their music the same way anymore. Are you having the same effect with that? I don't know. Now, Thomas Sowell said a couple of things. One, he said the road to hell is paved with Ivy League degrees. Well, we are seeing that now, aren't we? Oh my gosh, the things that these institutions that I grew up thinking were wonderful, seeking knowledge and truth, found out they aren't. They're not seeking knowledge and truth. They're seeking control and money. And I am not happy with that. Now, the other thing that Thomas Sowell said was, he says, we seem to be getting closer and closer to a situation where nobody is responsible for what they did, but we are all responsible for what somebody else did. Let's talk about our ancestors. Who was it? Sunny Hostin found out that her ancestors owned slaves. And so is the rule that it's only white people that own slaves have to pay restitution, reparations, I think they call it? Or is it anybody who owns slaves? Any color group, white, brown, black, red, yellow, that own slaves have to now pay reparations to blacks. This this is an exercise in frustration. It sounds really good. The ancestors of slaves are owed reparations. That sounds so good and heartwarming and wonderful. Until you try to figure out the practicalities of working it out. And now, nothing but frustration. Frustration out the wazoo. Now this one I like. It's really good. It says in America they call it lobbying. Everywhere else in the world they call it bribery and corruption. And this is true. Stephen Miller is quoted as saying, the right of due process is to protect citizens from their government, not to protect foreign trespassers from removal. Due process guarantees the rights of a criminal defendant facing prosecution, not an illegal alien facing deportation. I would like to add something to that. Not protecting those who have invaded the invasion by foreign hordes who are trying to destroy the country. See, that's called war. In war, you don't get due process when you're coming at trying to kill, harm, maim, destroy. There's no due process. You shoot back. And that's what they're doing. The Trump administration is shooting back legally using laws already on the books. And what do we see? We see a bunch of these fifth columnists in the country. Fifth columnists trying to pave the way to make it easier for these foreign hordes to get a strong foothold. That's wrong. Now let's talk about humor for a second. John Cleese. He said, people without a sense of humor, and isn't that every Democrat, Marxist, communist, socialist, which Marxists are Democrats. Marxism is the umbrella under which the rhinos, the Democrats, social justice warriors, the Black Lives Matter, the Democrats, I already said Democrats, Democrat Socialists of America, rhinos, communists, that's under which they live. They're all Marxist. They don't have one bit of a sense of humor. Now, they will laugh at you if they can destroy you. But that's not a sense of humor. That's evil. So John Cleese said, people without a sense of humor should not be allowed to decide what people with a sense of humor are allowed to laugh at. It would be like allowing colorblind people to decide which colors should be on a color chart. Comedy was destroyed during this last 12 years. The destruction was put in place long before that, the seeds of the destruction. And here it is. Trump's in there. He's going, you know what? He's saying all kinds of funny things that people can't help but laugh at because of the truthfulness of them, but they're funny. What did he say? He said about the southern border. He said, Biden said that he couldn't make the southern border non-porous and that he had to make a whole bunch of new laws, and they had to do this and do that, and it would take a long time to figure it out. He said, come to find out, all it took to do it was a new president. We still laugh at that because it's true, but it's funny. So John Cleese is correct that if we let them tell us what we can laugh at, oh man, that's almost like walking to the gallows without having your hands tied behind your back. Just like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. Okay, let's get into religion. Tariffs are working so well that even the Pope is made in America. Oh gosh, that was funny. That is funny. I can't help it. I am just, um, now you might not think that I'm laughing real hard at my own stuff here at this stuff, but let me tell you, if I laugh too hard, I start choking, and then I start coughing, and when I cough and I choke, my eyes water, and when that happens, my nose starts running. So right now, I'm absolutely rolling on the floor laughing inside. Because if I laugh too loud, y'all don't want to see what that looks like at all. Okay, Terrence K. Williams. You know him, he's the pancake biscuit guy. Um, Syrup and other stuff, fried chicken coating. It was good stuff too. Terrence said Biden was not just diagnosed with cancer. They knew he had cancer a long time ago. Straight up elder abuse. Well, that may very well be, but honestly, I don't know if he has cancer or not. I know he has a Alzheimer's, dementia of some sort. I don't know what kind. But does he have cancer? I don't know. I don't trust any of these people. Even if Biden was to die and the cause of death said cancer and dementia, the dementia I would believe because I've seen it. I don't know that I believe the cancer because somebody somewhere is pulling the strings on this. That's not really a good Friday funny, but in a way it kind of sort of is because we see it coming. And it's of their own making. It's of their own making. Now, I mentioned this particular next thing. I've already mentioned it once in another video, but it was attributed to an Arab proverb. Somebody went and made a whole new post about it and said it was an African proverb. Who knows? Who knows who said it first? Who cares? Because it's truth. Unlike the brain, the stomach alerts you when it's empty. See, African, Arab, Chinese, Russian, uh, Japanese, whatever. Everybody knows an empty brain when it when it speaks. Now, this is just a funny talk about truth. Two guys in their mid-20s are sitting at a bar having a beer. One of the guys remarks to the other, "Boy, you look tired." His friend replies, "Dude, I'm exhausted. My girlfriend wants to make love all the time. 3, 4, sometimes even 6 times a night. She wakes me up at all hours. I don't know what to do." An old gentleman in his 70s, sitting a few bar stools down, overhears their conversation. He looks over at the two men and well, showing the wisdom of his age, he says, "Marry her. That'll put an end to the nonsense." On the other spectrum, somebody You know, I don't know who he is, but he looks like is there somebody called King's Coach, or maybe that was just the page that shared it. I don't know. But he looks like a Viking, with his tattoos and his hair, a Viking who had some sort of gel to put in his hair to hold it just so. He's got the big thing in his ear, and he's looking suitably thoughtful. He says, "Keep in mind, there's a clock ticking that we can't see." Now, is this the clock of our own individual cells that when it's time to go because they're like, I'm over. I'm over it. It's done. Or is it the clock of accidental death ticking? I don't know. So I'm not really sure what this clock ticking that we can't see is. But the conclusion is, because it exists, we should love whoever loves us. And we should enjoy life. Now, we all know the heart wants what the heart wants, which is why somebody can love somebody deeply, desperately, devotedly. And that person knows they love them deeply, devotedly, and desperately, but they love somebody else who hates their guts. So, do people not think when they put these things together, are they meant just to get clicks? I don't know. I didn't click it. I can tell you what I did do. I just printed it out so that I could comment on it, but it wasn't clicked. Now, Candace Owens has something. She says, fellas, if a woman tells you she was victimized in every single relationship that she's ever been in with a man, your job is to listen to her and then never call her again. I love it. You know, I know somebody, um, I'm related to her. She was born with the sign across her forehead that said, kick me. Had one pasted on her back too. Kick me. Um, she was a walking victim. Everywhere she went, she was picked on, made fun of, slapped, hit, whatever. And she never once fought back. Never once. But she'd come home and she would beat the hell out of me. And you're saying, well, geez, Angela, why'd you let her do that? Well, because I knew there was something. I knew there was something wrong with her emotionally. I don't know what it is. But I wish I had known the phrase back then that I know now, is that wherever you go, there you are. And these victims that walk around, they won't do anything to not be a victim. They just are that to their very core. You can't save them. I let this person, a female, a little bit younger than me, beat the hell out of me till I was 16 years old because I knew she couldn't help it. Well, that was not exactly the best way to handle it. Then what happened was one day, let's see, I was somewhere between, I think it was about 17 years old, 16 or 17. I know where I was living. Yeah, I was about 17. Um, she starts it up again. And she's coming at me. And I held a hand up. Never done that before. I held a hand up and I said, stop. And she stopped and she says, what? I said, let me just explain. If you hit me, I'm going to knock you flat on your butt. She said, no, you won't. because I'd never done it before. You see, because I was so understanding and caring, and I knew she had something wrong in her mind. She thought because I didn't hit back all those years from the time I was 4 and she was 3, that I was weak. I wasn't. So she comes at me, and she went flat on her butt on the floor. Flat. In fact, she was just on her butt. She fell back. She started screaming and crying and running to Mama. Mama, Mama, Mama. Angie hit me. Well, in comes my mother. And my mother says, how dare you hit your sister? I said, Mother, just, you've been watching her beat me up for years and never said nothing. You never came to my aid. And before she hit me today, I told her if she hits me, I'm going to knock her flat on her butt. And that is what I did. Well, I'm not going to tell you what happened after that because it was horrible. And I'm not going to tell you. But I can tell you this. She never hit me again. And that's what's being done right now to all these Marxists. Do I have to go over the list of who the Marxists are? No. And there's a lot of people who are Marxists and they don't even know that they're a Marxist. They just care so much. I care for the downtrodden, and yet they want the downtrodden to work for slave wages so that they can have their avocado guacamole. We, who have been letting them get away with it for many years, only because we thought, they've got something wrong with them. They have gone too far now. And we are stepping up and saying, this far, no further, and you better mind your manners, or we're going to knock you on your butt. They're getting knocked on their butts now. Legally, metaphorically in other ways, and sometimes physically when they come at you at these so-called protests that they do. They're not allowed to do that. They can march all they want, but they cannot tear up. They cannot do all this violent stuff. So now it's time to, if you come one step closer, I'm going to knock you on your butt. Time to do that. Now, the next bit of advice that we can now laugh at, you see, is because it plays into what really women and men are like. It says if a girl ever pulls a knife on you during an argument, pull out the bread, turkey, and mayo. Her instincts will kick in and she will make you a sandwich. And if the instincts continue to kick in, she'll not only make you a sandwich, she'll go get you some iced tea, find a seat for you, get you a napkin. Oh, that's so true. That is so true. Okay. Jim Carrey said solitude is dangerous, very addictive. It becomes a habit after you realize how peaceful and calm it is. It's like you don't want to deal with people anymore because they drain your energy. Jim Carrey the actor, Jim Carrey the guy who I think totally appreciates his solitude and is able to do some things, has learned a lesson. And that is that one isolating himself will seek his own selfish longing. Against all practical wisdom he will break forth. The Proverbs 18, chapter 18, verse 1. Solomon may have written that. I'd have to look to determine, because actually Solomon didn't write all the Proverbs, I don't think. I think it was a compilation of things. But I enjoy being alone. I have to force myself to get out because people drain me. They always have. I've been living alone since my divorce, and I am very happy with it because I never had my own space before. And with that, I'm learning more about myself. But I go outside of my four wall. Well, I have more than four walls, but you know what I mean. I go outside of that and I interact with people. And, I let them help knock the rough edges off of me. Now that I know what some of my rough edges are, which I could not find out what they were until I had been alone for a while and wasn't dealing with everybody else's crap. So, Proverbs 18:1, everybody. Write it down and pin it on your wall if you hate being around people. So there was this picture of a telephone that sits on a desk, and the cord that comes from the handset um, down to the base. It's that springy thing that curls, and it always would get kinked and start having these things in it. Somebody posted, "My kids will never have to experience the frustration of dealing with this." Well, I don't know about you, but I am so happy that I don't have to deal with that cord anymore. But the big question comes up is, when did you know you were OCD? Well, I'll tell you when I knew I was OCD. It wouldn't be diagnosed for a long time, because those who are OCD, often everything they do makes perfect sense. And yet it's driving everybody else crazy. Well, I'll tell you when I first knew. I was 13 years old, and we lived in Red Oak, Georgia, in a rental house near the tracks, and wood floors throughout. There was one bathroom. Um, it was stuck off down. You had to go over the tracks, and it went right over into the driveway, and there was no grass. It was a mud front yard. It was a mud backyard. We had a chicken coop out back. It's a lot of fun. But somehow or another, uh, into the home was brought this large roll, a large rug rolled up. And my stepfather, oh, he was so excited to have this rug. And he rolled it out, and it was a shag, not a full shag, but not but about a half shag rug. Green, beautiful green. Oh my gosh, I love that green. And I wouldn't mind having a vehicle that color. That's how nice it was. But it was my job. That's when we got our first vacuum. Didn't have a vacuum before that I knew of. If we did, I missed it. But this was a vacuum, and it was an upright vacuum. I think we had the tube kind of vacuum back when I was in third grade, but we didn't have it long. This was an upright vacuum, and I was assigned the chore to keep the thing vacuumed. Well, you don't give a chore to an OCD person and then complain about what they do. I couldn't get enough of vacuuming that rug. And why? It's because I could go all the way up and come all the way back, and it was a perfect straight section of carpet just standing there at attention. And then I would go up next to it and come back. And now there was two nice, long, straight rows of perfect carpet standing at attention. And then I did three. I think there were 6 passes I had to make to get the width of this thing. So a vacuum's like that might have been 7. Anyway, very long. Oh my God. I could control exactly where the vacuum went. I could make it so that it wasn't just this haphazard pattern. It was perfectly straight, and everything was standing at attention. And then I would stand back and look at it and just go, oh. And I loved it. And then in would walk somebody who had to go use the phone, you see. And there's my perfect pattern with flattened footprints in it, messing up. And I'm going, what's the point of vacuuming if it can't stay like this? I never did understand for many, many years why it is that people will walk on carpet, people will sit on carpet. And all it did, I finally said, I'm not vacuuming anymore. Because to me, it was a waste of time. It was a waste of time because I made something perfection and nobody respected it. Of course, I can look back on that now and laugh, and it was funny. But that's one of those times my mother would look at me and go, where did you come from? I don't know. Now, let's talk about the last thing I'm going to talk about. And I think we end with something that God did. You see, we know that the sun, everybody is trying to calculate when it's going to end, how long it will last until it fizzles out. That sun is not going to fizzle out because it renews itself. It's got this power plant inside that does its thing. Well, come to find out, these so-called fossil fuels, where it was supposedly all these dinosaurs died and they turned into oil, and we've just been using it too much, isn't true. Now, when I was told that in school, the teachers would say, yes, they have the tar pits over there in, was it California or somewhere, and they have a tar pit somewhere else, and that's where all these dinosaur bones are found. It's, yeah, but that's just a little spot. We use a lot more oil than that. Well, they had to pull it out of the earth way down deep. How'd the dinosaurs get down there? So this whole fossil fuels notion has been a psyop by Marxists for many years. Because one thing we know is that God makes things to be self-renewing. You pull up, I don't care how much English ivy you pull up, you get that all out by the roots, you wait a year, wait 3 weeks. There's something going to come up underneath there that you did not know was still there, and that would be some more English ivy. Or some other kind of viney thing. Because these things are all self-renewing. Leave them alone, they'll come back. Same way with they used to find out that they used to say, oh, these oil spills are bad for the environment and all that sort of thing. Well, they're going to wash the little duckies and the little birdies in palm olive or the So Gentle or whatever it is they washed them in to save their lives. Well, come to find out, if they just left them alone, that their bodies would just produce this oil and of their own to make their feathers good, and all that oil would go away eventually. Okay, if you died, they were going to die anyway. They're there as food for something else, because that's right. It's all self-renewing. So God's energy is always renewable. He's the one keeping everything going, and he's got plenty of energy to spare. He's made things so that they will operate on their own. For instance, the core of the earth. So this is mind-blowing. Oil and gas may not be fossil fuels. I'm going to come out definitively and say oil and gas are not fossil fuels, but rather a renewable energy source created by a geothermal reaction between the solid mantle and the liquid core. We're not going to run out. God made this for humans to use. It's going to keep on going fine. We may find better ways of doing things. That's fine. God gave us the brains to use. He wants us to do things. But these people that are lying to us and telling us, manipulating, okay, psychological operations, trying to pull them on us so that they can control us, keep us fearful. We're going to run out if we don't do this. Nah. God's energy is always renewable. Well, y'all, I was thinking about calling this Friday Funnies and so forth, and I may still do that. Of course, I may put it on another day. I got to see what my schedule looks like. I've got several things scheduled out, so I'll find a Friday and I'll put it on there. But this has been really, really a lot of fun. You know, even though I'm sitting here by myself and I live alone, I do try to interact with the world. So if you're sitting somewhere and you're alone, you're watching this and you live alone and all this sort of thing, you know, interact with me. There's messages you can send, comments on what I write and what I speak about. Get the interaction going. And it's all a good thing, you guys. And I'm happy to be a part of it. And I'm glad you allow me to be a part of your time too. It's awesome stuff. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
She treats you right.